Since the beginning of time, all those who have studied Spanish have found the difference of por and para confusing. These two prepositions have been the suffering of many Spanish students. But fear not, in today's class, I will explain the meaning and uses of por and para, as well as provide exercises. This way, you will never have to suffer as your Spanish learning ancestors did. In general, por and para both mean for or by in English. However, they can take a few different translations depending on how they are used. You will see this in the examples later on. Now, even though they have similar meanings, both por and para are not interchangeable. If you switch por for para and vice versa, it changes the meaning of your sentence. Therefore, trying to use the correct preposition would be a bit frustrating for many students. It is, however, worth remembering the core difference between the two. Para generally indicates an objective or direction. Por generally indicates a cause or motive. Remembering these rules should help you understand what is going on behind the different uses of the prepositions. Let's start with seeing when to use the preposition por. Indicates the cause or reason for doing something. This is one of the core uses of por and used whenever you want to talk about why something happened or why someone did something. Yo no salgo de la casa por la lluvia. Remember how earlier I said that both por and para can take a few different translations depending on how they are used? Well, this is an example of that, where por translates as because. Indicates an approximate place. Pepe vive por el centro. This one is fairly self-explanatory. Indicates duration. Lucrecia viaja por 2 semanas. You use por when talking about how long something takes place. So, Lucrecia traveled for 2 weeks. Now, you could also use the word durante instead of por. So you could say, yo estudio español por 2 años. Yo estudio español durante 2 años. And it would mean I study Spanish for 2 years. Normally, you use por in Latin America and durante in Spain. Yo estudio español por la mañana. You can also use por when talking about general times. So for example, in the mornings, afternoons, at night, etc. Indicates a means of transport or communication. Nosotros hablamos por teléfono. Voy a Guatemala por avión. Por is also used to talk about the means or mediums that you use to do things. For instance, speaking on the phone or traveling by plane. Now, you could also use the preposition en when talking about modes of transport. So, could be voy a Guatemala por avión or voy a Guatemala en avión. I'm going to Guatemala by plane. Indicates the velocity or frequency of something. Manuel conduce a 100 kilómetros por hora. Voy al gimnasio 3 veces por semana. This again is fairly self-explanatory. Indicates price or percentage. Compré café por 5 libras. La ropa está a 10% de descuento. Expensive coffee and cheap clothes. Indicates favors, support, and gratitude. Fui a la tienda por ti. Gracias por el chocolate. Use por when you do something on someone else's behalf. Then, to show gratitude, you also use por. indicates change or substitution. Lucinda cambia la chaqueta negra por la chaqueta azul. Lucinda pagó $1,000 por la chaqueta negra. You use por when trading one thing for another, and this includes money. Multiplication: 8 por 6 es 48. This is fairly easy. Okay, so we have gone through a list of uses for por. Now, let's look at the preposition para. This should be a little easier as it has fewer uses than por. Purpose of an action. Ella trabaja 10 horas al día para pagar su universidad. Use para when talking about the purpose or goals of an action. For this use, the verb after para has to be in the infinitive form, so not conjugated. Purpose for an object. Tengo un teléfono para hacer llamadas. This is similar to the previous point, and you use para to indicate the purpose of an object, which is the telephone in this example. Personal opinion. Para nosotros es importante reciclar. Put para in front of someone's name or a pronoun to talk about opinions. Indicate deadlines. El trabajo es para el lunes. Use para when you have to have something done by a certain time. Also remember, when using the days of the week in a sentence, you use the article. Indicates destination. Vamos para la montaña. Nice and easy. Gifts. Compro un chocolate para ti. Standard. Lucy es muy cariñosa para ser gata. Use para when you want to express something that strays from the norm of its particular category. So in this example, it is stating that Lucy is very affectionate for the standard that is typical for a cat. Okay, so we have just gone through a long list of differences when using por and para. And it is completely understandable if you are thinking, how are you going to learn this? Therefore, the best thing to do is simplify it. Let's watch Cosmo simplify the differences for por and para into 4 categories. Of course, the simplified version won't necessarily apply to every por or para in Spanish, but it should get you by as a beginner. Number 1. Purpose v. reason or motive. Para. Use para to describe the purpose of doing something, and in English is usually translated as in order to. Cosmo vuela a Alemania para visitar a sus amigos. Cosmo flies to Germany in order to visit his friends. Por. Use por to talk about the reason for doing something, and in English is usually translated as because of. Cosmo vuela a Alemania por trabajo. Cosmo flies to Germany because of work. Can you see the differences as to why Cosmo is flying to Germany? For the first example, the purpose is to visit his friends. In the second example, he is going because maybe his work is making him go. Generally, for this category, you would use para plus verb and por plus noun. Number 2. Final destination V by route traveled. Para is used to travel to a place. It is the final destination. Cosmo vuela para Alemania. Cosmo flies to Germany. Por describes traveling through, by, or around a place. Cosmo vuela por Alemania. Cosmo flies through Germany. Now you could say, Cosmo vuela por Alemania para llegar a Inglaterra. Cosmo flies by Germany to arrive at England. Deadlines v. duration. Para is used to refer a specific date or a deadline. Cosmo tiene que estar en Alemania para la Pascua. Cosmo has to be in Germany for Easter. Por is used to describe the duration of something. Cosmo voló por 5 horas. Cosmo flew for 5 hours. Number 4. For the by. Para is used to refer to a person something is done for. Cosmo compró regalos de Alemania para Mónica. Cosmo bought presents from Germany for Monica. Por refers to a person who did something. Something was done by a person. Los regalos de Mónica fueron comprados por Cosmo en Alemania. Monica's presents were bought by Cosmo in Germany. Okay, so we have gone through quite a lot of pors and paras. Let's put what you know into practice. A short story will appear with the option of the 2 prepositions in the bracket. When you see this icon, you will have a few seconds to choose whether it should be por or para before I tell you. Let's begin. Hola, soy Gabriel. Trabajo para una compañía de seguros en Guatemala. Yo he trabajado por casi 6 años en la compañía y para mí es el mejor trabajo. Para vivir cómodamente, tengo que trabajar muy duro. Normalmente, voy a la oficina 5 días por semana. Todos los días hablo por teléfono con mis colegas en diferentes partes del mundo. Por mi trabajo, puedo conocer a personas muy interesantes y viajar por todo el mundo. Por el trabajo, no tengo mucho tiempo libre. Para estar con mi familia y amigos. Pero aprovecho cada momento libre para disfrutar y compartir con mis seres queridos. Okay, I know today's class might seem a bit overwhelming, but please don't worry. Over time, por and para will come naturally to you. Anyways, today we have learned the different uses of por and para. Adios, and see you in the next class.